What is up, people? Welcome back. So I came across this cool principle recently that kind of explains why, in the long run, we're all going to suck at our jobs. Let's start with the story here. So let's take this fellow Peter. Peter just graduated from college and is about to start his first full-time job at a big company called MathCorp. Now, MathCorp, like many real-world companies, has a very rigid corporate hierarchy. What that means is Peter's going to come in as a level 1 employee. If he does well, he gets promoted to level 2, then level 3, and it's just kind of a single sequential path from the bottom to the top. That's what we mean by a rigid corporate hierarchy. Now, we're also going to need to mention something called aptitude here. And aptitude is just going to be some measure of how well are you doing at the company, and it's going to be used to determine when to promote you. So Peter comes in with an aptitude of 0 because he's not able to understand or produce anything on day 1, but through completing projects and picking up skills, his aptitude will increase, and that's going to lead to promotions. And so let's tell the beginning of that story. So Peter, over the next 2 months, starts working hard, completing projects, picking up new skills, and eventually reaches an aptitude of 0.8, which is around the upper bound of what's expected for a level 1 employee. So Peter's boss comes up to Peter and says, "Peter, you're doing great. Looks like you're on a good trajectory. We're going to go ahead and promote you to level 2. This is Peter's first ever promotion, and so of course he accepts, but now we're in an interesting transition state, and let's dwell on this for just a second. The expected aptitude for a level 2 employee is between 1 and 2. Now Peter is just shy of that, but he was promoted anyway because of the trajectory he was on. It was kind of expected that he would eventually, in the next month or so, reach in that range for a level 2 employee and then be performing at his level. But right now, in this current moment in time, notice that he is not performing at the level he has been promoted to. But a couple months go by, Peter does in fact pick up more skills, pick up even more interesting projects, and eventually reaches an aptitude of 1.7, well within the range of what's expected for a level 2 employee. Now Peter's boss comes up to Peter again and says, "Peter, looks like you're still on a great trajectory. We'd like to promote you again to level 3. Peter, of course, accepts this promotion and is now in that same transitionary period, just one level shifted up, where he is a level 3 employee, has just been promoted to that level, but is performing still at the level of a level 2 employee, with the understanding that his trajectory will get him to perform at that level 3 pretty soon. But now something interesting happens. Peter tries to pick up new skills, tries to complete projects, but isn't able to get above an aptitude of 1.8. And this could be for a wide variety of different reasons for Peter or for anyone in the real world. Perhaps the educational background you have is insufficient, or the skills you have are insufficient, or perhaps you're just trying to shift more of your mental energy towards your personal life and you're not trying to devote that many hours to work anymore. Whatever the reason is, Peter's aptitude has reached this plateau of 1.8. And now we're in this really interesting long-term position where his aptitude is lower than the level he is expected to perform at, where the aptitude is around 2 to 3. And now take Peter's story and apply it to every single employee at MathCorp, or in the real world, every single employee at a company with this rigid sort of corporate hierarchy where they promote based on past performance. You're going to reach this point. Every employee is going to have their own different saturation points, some lower than Peter's, some higher than Peter's. But we're eventually going to reach this point where every single employee has been prematurely promoted to the next level with the understanding that their trajectory is in a good spot. And their trajectory was great up until that point. But for whatever reason now, they're not able to increase their aptitude. And so everyone gets stuck at an aptitude lower than the level they are expected to perform at. And that's what we mean by, in the long run, everybody is going to suck at their jobs. Now, this whole principle, this whole idea is called the Peter Principle. Surprise, surprise, and it was developed by Dr. Lawrence J. Peter and said very well in the original text. In the original text, it's stated as, in a rigid hierarchy, as we had in MathCorp and as we have in real-world companies, in a rigid hierarchy, every employee is going to rise to the level of their incompetence. It's a very cool sentence, and that's exactly what happens here, which is that people will rise and rise and rise as they do better and better and better. But eventually, here the word uses incompetence. I think that's a little harsh, but in general, it's just saying to the level at which they really want to plateau at, or they have to plateau at, they're going to rise to that level, and then they're not going to go any higher. But in the meantime, they've been promoted to that next level, meaning that everyone is sucking at their jobs. Now, there's a couple other assumptions that underpin the Peter Principle besides just having a rigid corporate hierarchy. But to be honest, I don't think they're that unreasonable. Let's just go through a couple of them. One is that demotions are rare. So you could say, hey, I would just fix this by demoting Peter to the bottom level, and then he'll be performing at that demoted level. But I don't know about you, but demotions seem pretty rare because they are usually seen as a negative. It might cause an employee to just quit altogether. It might lower morale across the entire company if you're always having fear of being demoted. So I think that's pretty reasonable that demotions are rare. Another one is that employees always accept promotions. Well, I'm sure there are specific people out there who are much more in tune with what they know they can produce and what they know their skill set is at, and don't accept that promotion because it's just going to lead to this mismatch. But I think for the most part, people are out there accepting promotions that are given to them, especially because they come with pay raises and status raises and stuff like that. So I think that's pretty reasonable as well. And the last assumption is one we already talked about a little bit, which is that companies promote based on trajectory of past performance instead of current performance. I think this one is the most in debate, especially as the workplace has changed over the last decade or so, where many companies now will say you need to perform at the level that you're trying to get promoted to. And once you're doing that for a few months, then we're going to officially promote you to that level. So there is that practice now, which would kind of break the Peter Principle. But that older, more typical practice of promoting based on trajectory of past performance is still alive and well. I've worked at companies in the last 10 years that exactly did this. So it's not that outdated of a practice and certainly still exists today. There's also empirical studies that support this principle. So there was a Harvard Business School study where they looked at 214 different companies. And across that, there were about 53,000 employees who were all salespeople. And what they did is they looked at which of these salespeople were promoted to sales managers, which is the next level up. And they found that it was kind of logically often those who were great salespeople. So great salespeople were the ones promoted to become sales managers. But really interesting, what the study found is that those salespeople who were promoted to become sales managers, because they were good salespeople, actually ended up having pretty poor numbers on their teams. They were not good sales managers. So this supports the Peter Principle in that those employees who were excellent salespeople rose to the level of their incompetence, were not able to be great sales managers just because they were doing well at their past role. Similar studies like this were conducted in the fields of engineering, in the military. There's several studies out there that do to various degrees support the Peter Principle. So the next time you're out there feeling like everybody around you and maybe even yourself sucks at your job, you might not be wrong. It might just be the Peter Principle. So if you like this video, please like and subscribe for more videos just like this. Very curious to hear any thoughts in the comments section below. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see all you wonderful, wonderful people next time.